Welcome everyone to the ROONS MIZZ Arsenal chat. I'm ROONS,
And I'm Niz.
and this is episode 8, where we come to you every Friday to talk about all things Arsenal. Hey Miz, how's it going, mate?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. What do
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got on the docket this week?
Yeah, after the 2-week international break, the Premier League is back tomorrow, which
Finally.
is always finally it feels like the 2 weeks always are torturous. I don't know
Oh,
about you, but I don't really get joy out of watching the internationals just qualifying for Euros and the World Cup. I'll watch those tournaments, but it's not the same. It's not the
right.
same as the Premier League.
Uh,
So
Catch up on the highlights maybe, but
yeah,
not
I'm not
really
tuning.
too
I'm
much.
not tuning in. I'm not tuning into each game eagerly watching. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, we got good topics today. A lot of Wenger news out there this last week. So we're gonna do a 3-part episode today instead of our normal 4 topic. We're gonna go 20 minutes each, and we're gonna go Wenger. Then Thomas Partey is on the team now after the transfer window closed. And then we're going to look ahead to City tomorrow with a big game at 5:30 kickoff UK time, 9:30 here on the west coast of the US. It's going to be a good test, and we got a lot to talk about today. So we'll just dive right into it. A lot of Wenger things in the news this week. A lot of articles. He released a memoir. I think it'll be an interesting read. It's probably a book I'll get at some point, and maybe on audio because I feel like if he's talking and doing it, that would be interesting. But
Yeah, apparently he does the narration, which
yeah,
he has a
yeah,
cool voice, and it's
he
always cool to
does.
hear autobiographies in the voice of the person doing it. Because
Yeah,
like
totally.
the ghostwriters who try to clean up their syntax, and it comes out sounding wrong. But
Yeah,
Finger's
he's a great pundit. Like whenever he's on like for a World Cup, and he does French TV, and he's just what a football guy in general. Like a true, like innovator in the game. I
yeah,
mean, I think, you and I both have always liked him. Probably thought he stayed too long, as the consensus of most people at this point, except for him.
yeah. I mean, he still seems very reluctant to admit any wrongdoing,
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
people have called him selfish. They called him arrogant, and it hurts to hear those words applied to him because he seemed to symbolize the opposite of selfishness and arrogance in his. So I think there's like 2 spells, right? There's the first era with Highbury, and then the Emirates era of Wenger, and it's
Yeah.
a tale of
Yeah.
two halves essentially, because the first half is golden, brilliant,
Yeah.
invincible. You
Hmm.
have the emergence of Wenger ball. You have the emergence of this football mind, where most people are thinking of it in terms of a physical battle. And here comes this brilliant mind to the game who introduced
Yep.
a whole new way of looking at the field, the whole new way of looking at players. And it produces arguably the best team in the Premier League history because they go unbeaten, the Invincibles.
And still hold that record. So I mean,
And
you're right. I
probably
think it
Probably will.
probably.
Liverpool
Yeah.
could do it. That Liverpool team, how far they went unbeaten, and it's
It
just so
looked
hard. You can't expect that of any team.
it looked like they might do it last season. I think without coronavirus and interruptions, I mean,
Well, hadn't they lost to Watford before that?
they did, but it
Right?
was like
Or it,
right before. But yeah, I mean, they were looking like they were the likely contenders of it. City were close a couple of seasons ago as well. They had that incredible run till like January, and they finally dropped a game. It's hard after the holiday break to keep that form going. It's just rough on your body. But you're right. I think it's a tale of 2 halves with Wenger. He even stated it this week in an interview with Talk Sport that it was first 10 years were easier than the second 10 years in his tenureship at Arsenal. He won 3 Premier League titles in the first 10 years, virtually just a nobody when he came to the club. Came from Japan. No, not a lot of people knew who he was at first.
if
And
that happened today, people would go absolutely ballistic.
oh
If
yeah,
someone
yeah,
came and won the league, like even when Leicester won, it was Ranieri, who had coached Chelsea to close. I mean, he was coaching Chelsea when Arsenal was in their best period, and he couldn't reach it, but he was right there. A solid coach,
top manager.
Yeah, to get someone who's unheard of from Japan. Who's coaching in Japan right now?
No idea.
So if they came and won the league,
yep,
insane. Yeah. So much of what Wenger accomplished gets brushed under the rug and not really given its due. And the thing is, in football, last year, people already don't care about Liverpool. They're not talking about Liverpool as if they're this great team. They just won the Champions League and the Premier League, and people's memory is short because if it's not your team, you're looking ahead to when your team might do better. But in that speed of memory, what Wenger, who he was and what he did, gets a little bit overshadowed, and especially because of the second half, which we can talk about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, same.
You almost forget, you take it for granted, and maybe he sounds like he because I read that same quote, I think, where he said, "I'm more proud of the second half because the first half was too easy," and you're thinking,
what?
The rivalry with Manchester United, going invincible, coming from nowhere and dominating the league, and that was the easy part. Insane.
Yeah, I think that's like the slight of it, though. Like, I don't think he deep down feels that way. Probably he's just probably trying to make his case of why he stayed so long, or why that was the right decision for him, and how the club is where it is today. I mean, he did change the game. I think the Premier League is different because of Arsene Wenger. The style of play has adapted. I mean, we probably don't have Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp playing the styles that they are without Arsene Wenger. I mean, he started that beautiful football in the Premier League and changed the flow. I mean, that invincible team was not just brute force, but they moved the ball well. That team was clinical, and we don't see that as much today. I mean, City and Liverpool definitely have those aspects. They can play that style and really rip apart teams, but not the way that Arsenal team really did. And they were big guys. Like, they were a big team.
Yeah. And that particular team just had a silkiness about them that I don't know if we'll ever see again, because that's just to be a time and a place, serendipity shine down on that team, because the way they played, I remember watching it and just feeling the joy, the pure wonder of watching that team play was why I'm an Arsenal fan, for sure.
Yep,
and I can't forget that.
Yeah, and like Henry, I mean, you had Henry in that team at his peak scoring time, with Bergkamp up top, Pires. I mean, this is like this team that they had on the field.
And the back line that was huge and intimidating, but extremely skilled, and could fit into that beautiful style as well. And then you had Patrick Vieira, who, really looking back, I didn't quite realize how tough he was.
Oh yeah,
I knew he was tough, but I kind of expected it. So like, I came around right around that time, so.
Yeah, same. I mean, that's when I really started watching.
Yeah, I'm like kind of taking it for granted a little bit. But now looking back, I'm like, holy shit, Vieira was tough. He wasn't afraid of anybody. Seeing him going up against Roy Keane, who Roy Keane made people shit their pants. And you just see he never backed up. Like, they'd go head to head. He never took a step back. He never flinched. Like, that dude was tough, and everyone knew it. Yeah,
that was a fun era to watch. And to your other point, though, I thought was interesting, the second 10 years was harder. And an interesting part of that TalkSport article was that he kind of missed the evolution of where the game was going. Wenger thought that it was going to move more technical, and that's why he started to buy smaller players. And it turns out that that's not the case.
It might have been, because
it might,
like Guardiola favors that, or
I think you need the right ones. You need a mixture of it.
Yeah.
Wenger started to buy too many small players. If you look at even the jersey that I have on right now has Rosicki on the back, and that team in 2010 was small. you had Fabregas, Nasri, Rosicki, Arshavin. I mean, this era of just attacking players that are tiny. I'm missing a few. I mean, even all of that era post
going up
2006
to
is
Corzola,
yeah.
you know.
Danielson was small.
And it was crazy because I remember watching Arsenal in their heyday, and I was talking about it with my dad, and he's like, "Look at the style of player he picks. They're all tall, they're
Yep.
all like skinnier, but tall, skinny, and strong. And then you had like Canu, you had Adebayor, you had Henri, you had Vieira, you
Van
had
Persie.
Cole Campbell, Van Persie, and Bergkamp fit that model, except they were white.
Yep.
But he was also a good, and a cool thing about it too was like he picked really cool African players. You know, like
we were like the first team to have like African players like really
who were kind of
in
like,
abundance.
yeah, and a lot of people would be like, who is this? And
yeah,
they'd come and actually be really great. Like he saw something in people, and he didn't let any kind of not that teams are prejudiced or anything, but you could tell that in his mind there was no such thing as racial prejudice. There was no.
Oh yeah, he's very open as a person. I'd say like I don't think that he sees. I mean, he speaks Japanese well. I mean, he's very educated. I'd say Arsene Wenger is probably one of the smartest managers to ever grace the game. An economist, a brilliant person. Like I think he's a genius.
He wasn't a football manager. He would be some businessman or some.
He'd be rich either way. Either way, he would have money and be off making, doing big things. Same with Sir Alex Ferguson. Probably brilliant in every regard. I mean, most of them at the top, I guess, are probably geniuses in their own right of something. But Wenger, a true scholar. I mean, a real like smart person. And I mean, I'm grateful that we ever had him. It's interesting to hear his thoughts on, the second 10 years that his tenureship and building the Emirates, opening it in 2006, 7 season, and really just taking a step back from where they were. The stadium proved to be costly, and a time where we had to manage the books differently in what they're saying. I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of it, but
something strange happened at that time. And I don't know if Wenger fully wants to admit it. I think for some reason he's almost contractually bound from speaking.
He probably signed an NDA.
That's when this weird feeling that has culminated with the Wenger out banners and even the perception of things like AFTV being negative and fans hating Arsenal and like, but we could sense there was something rotten, something shady, something that we weren't told about. There was some reason.
Yeah.
And it all started with the new stadium and Wenger's second era.
Yeah, you're right. Is that I mean, that's kind of when the board and the shareholding started to move a little bit. I'd say like what the Kroenke era
started kind of like buying up shares, becoming more. David Dean, I think that's when he left, right?
He left, yeah.
Some major, because before in the transfer market we were impeccable, buying Nicolas Anelka for 500,000 and then selling him to Real Madrid for 24 million. That's genius. Great. And we were known for getting these players, like Perez and players that weren't necessarily like, who is this? But then now they're so good that you can sell them for big money.
Totally. I mean, it's a much different thing now. I mean, we've even got rid of all our scouts at this point, which we were the team that was recruiting the most before. I feel like we always had a pulse on all the young kids that were going to be dope and coming through. And I think it's just a little bit different now. I don't know. There must be switching something tactically. I know Arteta and Edu have some pretty good plans together. So hopefully that changed. I'm happy that even Gazidis has moved on.
Yeah.
Because he was a plague in the club.
Wenger is marked by things like Gazidis, who he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Didn't care. Yeah. And then he left and he was like, well, whatever. It's on my resume that I worked at Arsenal. So I'm going to use that to always have a job. But what he did at Arsenal was bullshit.
very Daniel Levy-ish.
Yeah, that whole kind of
Yeah.
attitude that moved in. But my theory about listening to Wenger talk about his second half is that, and you hear about him in the beginning, and he was someone who would get physically sick if he lost.
Yeah.
He had that fight that he was like, I don't care if you're Ferguson, I don't care who you are, I'm not going to back down. Fuck you. We're going to win. I mean, there was the beautiful symphonic level of Arsenal, but the reason why that was even a valid style was because it was backed by that hard grit, the back line being tough, being strong, being unafraid. And then with a mentality like that, with hating to lose, then you go unbeaten. So what do you do after that? Something has to change mentally, because you can't do that again. You can't expect that to happen anymore. And you've really reached a goal that no one thought was possible, to go unbeaten, invincible. And I think looking back on it now, I wish he would have, when Highbury ended, I wish Wenger would have left and been like, I did whatever I could do. I did the ultimate at Arsenal. Now it's time to go to Real Madrid. He would have coached a couple teams. Maybe he would have dropped off in the same way. It's hard to tell, but
we needed some new blood at that point. I think he lost it at the Champions League final after. That's like when it started to go down for him.
Yeah, and I think he had there was rumors that he was going to leave, and he was thinking about it. But I think what happened to him was he changed his definition of a challenge to, okay, I used to compete with you guys toe to toe, and I beat you, went unbeaten. Now what I'm going to do is compete with you, but show you that I don't need any of your resources, and I can still challenge you. Like, okay, I'm going to do it without money. I'm going to do it without the players. I'm going to do it with, he had this mentality of like, okay, now I'm going to do it without. And that's a challenge. Yes. Mm-hmm. It makes it really hard. Very few people could have done as well as he did in those circumstances. Probably literally nobody. You think Jose Mourinho could have done he did that Arsenal team, and without the money and without the blah, blah, blah? Hell no. You would have done 2 years and got
not as good of a manager.
But at the same time, it wasn't good for Arsenal. And it's almost, that was one challenge too far, because you have to compete. You have to get players. You have to spend money. If you don't do those things, it's like saying, now I'm not going to practice and I'm still going to try to get the same results. Or now, there was a little bit of, I think that challenge in his own mind was misguided.
Totally. I think you're spot on there. I mean,
moved on instead of taking that, and he just dug in and dug in and dug in. It's like, no, this is my challenge. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna admit that this is too much for me. And it warped even Wenger, unfortunately. But I feel like that's kind of what happened.
I think you're right. I mean, I think we're still picking up the pieces even now. The 2006-07 season where we moved to the Emirates to now, we've won some FA Cups here and there. That's it. That's all we've done. We won the Community Shield a couple times. That's not important. We lost a number of League Cups. We finished what he stated as success. We finished second 4 times, third 5 times, and fourth 6 times.
Which are almost, they're worse than finishing 8th last season, because finished second, and it was like, well, if you would have been doing what the other clubs are doing, we would have won 3 or 4 more titles.
Yeah, and this doesn't go away from, I still respect Arsene Wenger and think he's great, and I'm sure you do too. But I think the disconnect here is that they still did terrible business since the Emirates to get us to where we're at. Even if you are on a sustainable model, use your brain in this way to get the players that you need to do what you need to do. Leicester had no odds to win the Premier League a few seasons ago. They had 5,000 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
And they won the league.
Right.
Like, they won the league early. They were good, and they proved that you didn't need to spend all the money to do it. You have to have the right system in place,
The right
and
mentality.
the right mentality. And I don't think that Arsenal had that for the second part of Wenger's era. I think the Champions League final loss to Barcelona in 2006 was hurtful to him, probably to the core, and I don't think he ever recovered.
Yeah, I can see that definitely. And you bring up a valid point as well, that despite all of the disadvantages, which were insane, which no other big club on the planet had to deal with, we still underperformed.
And we did, yeah. That you can do all those other things, but you still got to put the game together.
And with the team that we had, it was a matter of mental backbone that lost us. The times we finished second, we beat Leicester both times that year. We're the only team in the league that did it, and then we finished second. We were the champions of being good enough, but never being good enough when it mattered. Losing
just
almost cup final.
Almost good enough. Always, it's just like
and never, because we never really had the right mentality. There were teams. He was fielding teams out there sometimes that everyone was looking to someone else. They were passing the buck. They didn't want to step up. We'd play a big team and they were defeated before they stepped on the field. The idea of the weird thing is that Wenger ball style that was so pronounced in his first half was utterly gone, because you get out there and it was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what team is going to show up. I don't know what formation is going to show up.
When you have Nicholas Bentner and Squillaci in the same team, I mean, you're never going to beat Manchester United with Ronaldo or Rooney. Or Van. I mean, come on. I mean, and then you had all these other, like, we're not mentioning Chelsea at the time. Chelsea's spending big in this era, winning titles,
billions,
and they're
getting
putting together
and Liverpool's getting Suarez, and teams are.
And they would sack managers like it was going out of style. Like, if you didn't perform at Chelsea, you were out. And Wenger, how many games in the second part of his career did we lose by more than 5 goals? A lot. We lost to Manchester United 8-2, and he was still safe in his job. We lost to Barcelona multiple times in Champions League on aggregate with 7+. Bayern Munich multiple times. Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, there was games. One of the Barcelona games, you were like, surely this must be the end, kind of. Like, I mean,
how many times in that past decade were there games like that where you're like, okay, it's over. It's unfortunate it has to end like this, but clearly the team is this team is dead. It's time to sack Wenger or say goodbye and start over. And we said that in 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14. Like, there was at least one of those moments for a solid 6 or 7 years in a row where you'd have that just like,
is this it? This has got to be the end.
Arsenal. This isn't our team.
Yeah.
Like, to lose 8-2 to anyone, let alone Manchester United, is like, okay, the Invincibles are so far gone at this point.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same team. We hopefully like the club. We stick with the club. We remember and we believe in the spirit of Arsenal, which amazingly has come back. And so it's real. It's there.
Yeah.
It's even there, but
he said that the first thing he noticed was it was a special place when he walked in there. So it is. I think that we take for granted that we support like a really like good club for the long haul. Like, we've had a rough era, and I mean, I'd say that to not be critical of some of the decisions he's made would not be fair as well, because like everybody makes mistakes, and I think that he just let his ego get so big and didn't want to move on, and that's like his baby. but like he didn't do the right things for a long time. I mean, in that article also was interesting. Multiple players wanted to come back. Cesc Fabregas wanted to come back, and he said no. Van Persie wanted to come back and said no. I mean, it's like, dude, what, like, why? Like,
Well, I mean, even
remove yourself from it.
play,
Well,
you know,
and like Fabregas, I mean, he was coming back to the Premier League. We wrote into the deal with Barcelona when they bought him that we have right of first refusal wherever he goes next. So anyone interested in him, we're allowed to be like, nope, we'll take him back. And the fee was only like 15 million to get him back to Arsenal. Like the buyback was like really cheap, and he went on to Chelsea and won multiple titles there.
I see. It's that kind of thing.
It's
with
that kind of shit that like,
it's like,
yeah.
well, okay, you said no to Fabregas.
Well, we didn't have that kind of
Let
midfielder
him,
even
and
replace
let him
him.
go to Chelsea. Like, you buy him, even if you don't want to play him.
Take him back.
So he doesn't go to Chelsea and win the fucking title, which he did.
Exactly.
And so many times we give Van Persie to Man United, they win the title, and that's just like a punch right in the dick every time for people who are still remembering the Invincibles. Because you're like, you just let Manchester United win the title. What are you doing?
Well, and with Fabregas, like we could have used Fabregas back at Arsenal post Barcelona for him. In that frame of when he went to Chelsea, we did not have the kind of midfielder that he is. Yeah. He was still very good. He scores goals. He created things. I remember, I mean, I really liked Cesc Fabregas in our team when he was like balling. I mean, I remember one of the best goals he ever scored was against Tottenham, where he like from the kickoff just ran through the entire team and slotted it with a broken, like had a fracture in his shin. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff where we should have made that happen. That is like a terrible decision.
Yeah. And there was a ton of those. Like
there's a ton of them,
there's a story that Adebayor was like, I don't want to go. Don't make me go. Don't make me go to City. And he's like, either you go to City or you play in the under 23s and you never, like, I'll shut down your career. And that's why Adebayor hated Arsenal, celebrated when he scored against them. And it was like, dude, at one point, I was really like,
scorer in the league.
The next Henry. Like, we have a built-in next Henry, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a good goal scorer. It was stupid to ever let him go. I mean, that was just a number of bad decisions. But, I mean, I think we could go on forever about this topic. I mean, maybe we'll touch on it more after we read the book and hear what he's got to say. I mean, I think that, he mentioned, like, I'd love to go back to Arsenal. I wouldn't mind if he came back and did some sort of managerial role, but I wouldn't want his influence to be overweighing, what Arteta's doing.
It'd only have to be like, he'd be like a spiritual figurehead or something.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't even go to
and get some advice and wisdom, because I think he has a lot of wisdom to share.
Yeah,
but
he even wants Ozil. He wants Ozil, and he wants Ozil to be on the team right now. He said that, and they're like, dude, like.
Well, it's that kind of thing too he was making. Where he was like, I'll keep playing. Like, if he believed in someone, as long as they didn't leave, he literally, like, if you got into the starting position, you had that position for life, no matter what you did. And he has these quotes like, it takes 6 months to get used to the country. It takes 100 games to know your place in the Premier League. And it's like, that's a long fucking time, dude. Mourinho is like, oh, you got here from Timbuktu. I expect you to be as good as you were while we got you right now. Right?
Well, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair, though.
That's what you're competing against, regardless of how you feel about that. Is it insensitive? Is it mean? Is it hard? It could be, but regardless, that's what you're competing against. And he just seemed like he was kind of I'm not competing in the same sport.
Yep.
I'm dealing with things in my own world, and it's like, well, that doesn't always work.
Yeah. And I don't know.
No one's that good.
I don't know about you, but I feel this way strongly. Is I'm very hopeful of the Arteta era in this realm of what we're doing, because it seems like he's taken that type of mentality and taken it a step further and is like, I'm going to do a different thing. And if you aren't performing, you're out.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit who you are or what your wages are. That's specifically related to Ozil. I think Ozil and Arteta are friends. You see them in training; they like are really comfortable with one another. They were teammates. But Arteta, I don't think he gives a shit whether he plays Ozil or not. Like he's like, you're not doing what you need to do. You're not playing. Sorry.
It's the non-negotiable mentality that he brought back
Yep.
because Wenger had that in the beginning. You had the set that was like
he got soft as he got older.
Yeah, something changed, but
yeah,
the non-negotiable part.
Yeah, I think maybe he just got wrapped up in managing. I think Wenger had more say in the club than we probably realized. Was a big decider in the stadium and all that stuff. I think he was really involved in everything, and I think the football took a backseat to the business part of it that he was focused on, because he also is a businessman and was thinking about that stuff. And we suffered on the field.
Yeah,
and off. I'd say that their club seemed to be falling apart, at odds with itself, and now I think the fans are going to be overjoyed when they're allowed to go back into the stadium to be able to watch this team play this style of football. And we can move right into Partey if you want.
Yeah. Well, from the 10-2 days to now, it's amazing what ground we've covered and how lucky we are to have this team, the current team, in the mix. And I hope that Arteta starts Partey. Don't pull a Wenger and buy a standout signing and then fucking bench him for long enough to where now it's like you just have some random player.
Start him tomorrow. Start him tomorrow against
momentum.
City. Yeah. Start him. I think he might start tomorrow, actually. Given on what I've read, I don't know. I think you might just throw him into the mix. Why not? Had a great assist for Ghana this week. The dude's...
All I'm saying is please don't start fucking Xhaka over Partey.
Yeah.
I don't you always get excited with an Arsenal lineup. You're like, okay, we're going to be firing. We're going to put all our firepower out there. And then you see, Pepe's on the bench. Laka's on the bench. Xhaka is starting. Mustafi is starting. How many times have you been like, wait, you went with Xhaka and Mustafi?
Why? Yeah.
A question now. Xhaka, we've talked about a million times. He went from zero to hero. He's kind of settling back into just mediocrity. I think he's a player where we need to tell the rest of the world, Xhaka is no longer our baseline player. Partey is.
Yep.
Xhaka can come on in the 75th and hold it down if we're winning 1-0 against City. I have no problem with
it. Yeah.
But he cannot be
he's not the main guy
of our midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think tomorrow's game, and we'll get to that, but Partey, got to get him in the team tomorrow. I mean, what a boost to him coming into the Premier League, into his new club. He's obviously our marquee signing of the summer. I mean, they made a big deal about him at post signing. I mean, he's
by far the most expensive player.
Yeah. I mean, and Aubameyang is notable because that was a new signing as well, holding on to our top player. We did decent business at the end of it. I mean, maybe, you and I always would probably prefer a little bit more in and out of some of the fringe that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
But, I think over time they'll get them out, get what they want in. Seems to be they actually have a plan now and seem to be executing that plan. Partey was part of their plan, so that's a big win.
See him get used, because that's one thing the old regime was. I never felt that we were playing our strongest team, or there's this sense that we have players that might make the other team nervous, but we're just not going to play them. We're going to put a team out there that if you're Watford, if you're Aston Villa, if you're Brighton, you're Hull City, you see the lineup that Arsenal just put out under Wenger in the second era, and you're like, oh shit, tight. They're not playing. He benched Lacazette. Lacazette came in and scored, but now he's not starting. And you're like, it always just fucked with the momentum. And I just hope we don't do it. It's a risk, you know. He's coming in, he new to
Yes.
the country and everything.
Never played in the league. Yeah.
He's been playing with Atletico Madrid, and you know their
Yeah.
training sessions are not easy. He says he's fit.
He's
throw him out there. It's
yeah.
a risk. It's a risk, but if it goes right, if he has a good game against City, then the ice is broken. Now he can be a starter, and we can play with our full squad instead of thinking, oh, well, you know, we have to wait for Partey to get his feet, and then we have to – and then it could never happen. I mean, Pepe is still not over the hump yet.
Yeah, he still needs to hit that ground running fully. Where other players, like I'd say that March –
game, he scores a goal.
Yeah.
He's already over the hump. You know?
I think give him the start tomorrow. He's 27 years old. He's played the game a long time. It's not like he's 22, coming in, needs to adapt a little bit, get used to it. He speaks English. He's gonna get on with the team. He looks like a real professional, and I think he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. People seem to think that we are title contenders this year, pundit-wise, and
I mean,
I don't disagree.
How long has it been since you were hearing that? Even when we finished second all those years?
Even that being floated as us potentially winning the league this year, I mean, says something. I mean, what?
Will it happen?
Thinking about it, probably not.
It's going to happen.
No. But we have a chance. I'd say that when you think about this team, though, and the way that they play, I'm not gonna say that we can't beat everybody in the league, because we can.
Yeah. Who's it like under Emery, under the last era of Arsenal? We'd go play Man City, and it was like, okay, let's just go take our ass beating. Like, this is suck. All the players, their body language is like, well, we have to kind of try hard, I guess, but we're gonna lose. You know.
I don't know that we're gonna lose tomorrow. I'm feeling good about tomorrow, actually. Like our record, we were talking about this earlier, but we haven't beaten them in 9 games in the Premier League. 7 losses, 2 draws. Arsenal's due for a win against City at some point, whether that's at the Etihad or at the Emirates. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's no fans right now anyway. So we have a chance tomorrow. No De Bruyne in that team. Aguero is not fit yet. I mean, might be on the bench, might not be.
They're 14th place. They're 10 spots below us in the table. That's got to count for something. They're always going to be a hard team to play with tons of quality. But right now, if you're sitting in 14th, 4 games in, that's not a place they like to be. They're going to feel a little desperate. They're going to maybe take a little bit more chances. You know, they're not going to play with that like calmness that when you're 17 points clear. It's different when you're 14th in the league. You need
4 games in
fast.
Yeah.
We step on their neck. You know, we can beat them. They've been beaten this season handily. You know,
and we beat them in the cup not long ago.
Yeah,
and we beat them decently. And we're not mentioning another aspect of it, but Arteta was the assistant there for multiple years under Pep. We know he has an inside pulse on what is going on there and how to break them down. And I think throw Partey into the mix tomorrow and really confuse the shit out of him. Like, they have no idea what's going to happen with him in the team tomorrow. Like, we don't even know what's going to happen. Yeah.
If Pep hates anything, it's a surprise.
He does not like
exactly what everyone does, what their patterns are, so he can adjust to it. You throw in Partey, he's going to be sweating because he knows there's a chance that Partey comes on and plays very well. And
Arsenal makes Pep nervous. The All or Nothing documentary on Amazon, he mentioned it multiple times about how they're dangerous, even when they weren't very good a few years ago. He's like, this team is dangerous. Like, they'll punish you. And that was Wenger there. They will punish you. And right now, he's probably saying the same thing to his backroom staff, that Arteta's there. He knows us. He's building something that, like, I knew he was going to do, and they're doing it well. And I'd say confuse them tomorrow. Throw Partey in there. Make the formation really wacky where it's going to disrupt City's style and flow. Don't let them get a foothold in the game. I think we have every chance to win tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, so what would your formation be?
I like that, like, 3-4-3 that Sky posted with, like, Luiz, Gabriel, Tierney. But I'd put Partey in the middle with Ceballos, Bellerin, and they had him out wide. I don't like that, but I'd put him in the middle. I'd have like two in the middle. I'd put Partey and whether Xhaka or Ceballos, whoever has been doing better this week and is more fit, I'd say put one of them in. I'd put Saka and Bellerin or Niles in, and then I'd throw Lacazette, Pepe, and Aubameyang up top.
Can we please get those three to start?
Yeah, I think that's I know Willian. I think Willian might get the nod tomorrow, only out of experience. But I'd like to bring him on later.
I know.
And he's a really good disruptive player.
Yeah, like nothing against Willian, but what's the problem with bringing him on at the 65th minute?
Exactly.
Let Pepe terrorize them.
Yeah,
and then
tire them. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he can't track back in the second half, then you bring on Willian.
Yeah, I agree. I think Willian as the sub is more effective because he's that kind of player that's going to nick a goal. He's going to get an assist or he's going to disrupt things when they're tired. And I think that City has some problems in the back at this point now. They're trying to throw money at the problem instead of developing the players like Pep would normally do. They've spent $400 million on defenders since Pep's been in charge,
which seems about more than Arsenal spent on everyone.
That's our last 10 years of transfers, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know what team would you put out there tomorrow against them?
If Tierney can play, obviously
he's fit. He's fit. I saw today. He's fine.
So no coronavirus worries.
Nope. Full training. All good.
Awesome. Because that's
Yep.
huge as well. It's like, hopefully you see with Partey playing, one player can really unlock the way the whole space. When you have Tierney who's solid in the back and making overlapping runs instead of a very cautious Kolasinac.
Yeah, no, Tierney's the obvious choice. Yeah.
The whole entire so if you have, instead of Xhaka, who's getting the ball, passing, very stagnant or solitary, even when he's good, not making mistakes, but not an engine for moving forward. You throw in Partey, who's all of a sudden doing that, and then who knows what that's going to do for people like Pepe or Saka or Aubameyang, we haven't been able to unlock Aubameyang yet.
And thankfully he's fit. He had an ankle sprain, but has been in full training all week. He's playing tomorrow. That's awesome. I mean, we have a fit team. Like Martinelli's back in full training, ahead of schedule.
That's exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah, that's a dude that settled quick and
scored goals that took real mental toughness.
Oh yeah, he's a great player. He's gonna be amazing. I love that we locked him down on a long-term contract.
Yeah, we're handling business like that. Saka, Aubameyang, Martinelli.
Yeah,
that's as important as transfers from the outside. Is down the players.
I think Tierney next season. Tie Tierney up again, long-term wise, because he's a player to keep. I mean, we're actually buying players that are good finally. Like even Willian as an older refuge from Chelsea is a really good player.
Free transfer, that's hard to say. Like, you're not paying for it, so why would you turn it?
And Gabriel and now Partey, I'd say like putting that team out there tomorrow. I'm liking the chances. I'm liking what the team looks like. We're big again. We're not that small team. They're big. They're a big team, and everyone in the back besides Tierney and Bellerin, who aren't small but they're fast and are nimble. You know, Tierney's better than Bellerin, I'd say, and going to be better. But, you know, Rob Holding, Gabriel, David Luiz, Saliba, all these guys are big guys. I don't know what's going on with Saliba, but
Yeah, strange. I think something happened. He got something in his personal life. He got spooked, or he's 19. I think
he's young. Yeah,
we forget.
he
Like
he
we're
needs to
trying
go on loan. He
expecting
needs
him
to go on loan
be,
maybe again.
yeah, we're expecting him to be. Basically, we're expecting him to be what Gabriel has been. So it's luckily that we got someone else because it doesn't look like
I'm
Saliba.
pumped on Gabriel. I'm pumped on that dude. I think he's
He started against Fulham. He scored.
yeah
Now
scored.
the ice is broken on him.
So Arteta is willing to do this with players.
Yeah.
Gabriel was not there more than a week, so it was like, welcome.
And
Enjoy.
the way we play so conservatively in the midfield with the 3-4-3,
Yeah,
like I don't think we're going to be throwing Partey in there and being like, well, you have to do this and this and this and this and this. It's like he'll be like play conservatively, and I think that's well within Partey's abilities to do that.
totally. I saw an interesting quote this morning. I really loved it from Arteta about the game in City tomorrow. It was like, we're working on adapting 3 styles of play built in on one base. And he's like, we're trying not to drive the players crazy, but we have 3 different alternatives that we're trying to work in, that if it's not working, we're going to switch and do this, which you got to love that. Like, you got to love that. Like, it's not just one, not just like, how many teams have we probably been on and where they just keep throwing the same thing at the problem, and you're like, dude, this isn't working. Yeah. Like we even know it as a player, like this isn't working. Like you need to switch something. And he's willing to do that. So I think he's going to take a risk tomorrow. I mean, what a debut it would be to start and go for it.
Just psychologically, when you see that. I mean, when you get a new player and he immediately starts playing, if you're the other team, you take a look. Oh, man, they just got Partey. He's playing. You know?
Yeah, they must rate him. Be like, oh, Arteta saw him train 2 times and was like, yep, you're in the team.
Yep. You get on the field, yeah, you're going to do something. We want this guy. It's so psychological. And then,
I wish we weren't having this discussion. I wish they would have done the business a little earlier before the international break, because we would have had this time frame to have him in the team with no questions asked against a big, like, we win tomorrow's game. I mean, the league opens up.
Definitely. I think if we win tomorrow, we're put in the title contention conversation for sure.
For real. Yeah. Because we lost to the champions, but barely to Liverpool. They got lucky to have a 3-1 scoreline.
We didn't get
that game. That wasn't reflective of the game.
We didn't get a smacking like we usually do, where we go in and just turn around and say, "Okay, not too hard, just get it over with." Like
3-1. You didn't count us out of it.
There was definitely chances for 2-2.
Yep.
We played them so many times in a row. It's tough. They're the champions. They're good. Blah blah blah. We didn't go there and get our ass kicked though.
No. So what formation would you play tomorrow?
So Tierney on the left, Gabriel in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'd like the 4-3-3. So probably Luiz. I don't know who's on the right. Who's our right back?
Yeah. I think Niles is better. Holding, Bellerin. I don't know, because they're playing like a different style, so it's hard to pin Saka and Bellerin back, or Niles, who's ever in there. And Niles had a hell of a week this week again for England. So you can't
right back. I don't know if he doesn't like that position. It's not his natural position, but someone who just holds it down on the right.
Yeah.
Because I like the 4-3-3. I like Saka starting on the left in the midfield. Partey, and then Bellerin, Maitland-Niles. I still think we can improve on the right side.
I agree. I think there's room for growth there.
Yeah, I don't know what Cedric's deal is. He doesn't seem to have been playing bad, but if he's going to start,
maybe he's just not good enough. Like sometimes they're just not good enough. Like, he may train well, might help the team in practice, but
I mean,
it's just there's a step. Those dudes are like a step up. Like there's like a levels of football.
For sure.
and
Sometimes you just can't
where,
read that.
yeah, there's a biologically for you, or it has to be in you a little bit. So
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't have it.
Yeah. So the right back and right midfield it's probably going to be Niles and Bellerin, but those are two places I think we could improve in general. And then up top, Alba, Laka, Pepe. Ultimately, I would love a formation where Aubameyang can play center striker.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
It's hard. How do you do that with him? Is there some 4-4-2 that can work out?
Because Lacazette's not as good on the wing. But I feel like Lacazette and Aubameyang could play middle together as two strikers.
Agreed.
Very easily.
Different kind of middle striker.
Yeah, because Lacazette's more like of an Ian Wright / Bergkamp type player.
Yeah. Hold up play.
Yeah, he's good with the ball. He's really good with the ball. He's really good at passing the ball. Is like a real goal scorer. Like he's that dude you want poking around in the box on a corner.
Yeah.
And then Aubameyang
is your
Thierry
typical,
Henry type.
Yeah.
Henry, your typical Thierry Henry.
Yeah. Atypical. There. So,
yeah. Two class forwards.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's talks of a 4-2-3-1 with Partey and Xhaka as the holding,
Partey looked like he got a ball on him, though. He played a sick ball over the top in the Ghana game. I just saw, like, on Twitter, it was like, this is what Arsenal paid for. And he just like it was nothing, like, at the half line, played the ball in that little gap before the 18, and the foot just landed right in front of the forward. The forward just took a touch, slotted far post. It's like,
that's what Aubameyang needs.
Yep, we need that type of player to play the ball over the top. I like how we do that sometimes, and we're not always ticky-tacky. And that shows that Arteta has like different, because even when you play, we've always played like diverse. We're not going to just play pass. You want to play the ball over the top sometimes. If they're caught out, play the ball over her.
Yeah, if it's on.
If it's on, why not do it?
Would say if it's on, you still don't do it.
But why? Why? Because you got to walk the ball into the goal? No. So that's not how all goals are scored. I don't know, but like, I love a breakaway. It's hard, but it's beautiful. It's like there's something so wonderful about that space on the field when you're alone going to the goal.
And to see that out of a crowded midfield, and all of a sudden just turn it into this. There's tons of space and time.
Yep.
And for a striker like Aubameyang to get on the end of it and finish it, it's a beautiful thing.
And Partey, I like that I watched some highlights of him. I love that he has a shot. He's got a rip.
It's in his wheelhouse to take shots.
From deep. He scored some deep goals in La Liga.
Yeah. Whereas like Ceballos doesn't seem, I don't know, he doesn't take shots.
Almost like there's no power. I think when Ceballos almost takes a shot, like he loses the power. Like it's, it does. That final third of like when you're tired and you go to shoot and you just don't have the oomph in it that you need because you've wasted all your energy getting there. It's like, I feel like that's what Ceballos does every time he takes a shot.
Yeah. Well, he's having to do so much work to get to that position.
Yeah.
Like you said.
I think it's his style. I mean, I like him. I'm not sure that he's the big solution that we need. I think he plays a little too slow. I'd love to see that move quicker. It's like very like gets the ball and like, I don't know. There's too many touches in there.
He has to get, his legs need to get bigger,
I mean, you compare him to De Bruyne.
It's tough.
Yeah, there's
bridge.
Dude, and when De Bruyne, I mean, luckily he's not playing tomorrow because that game's way different. That's going
to be huge.
That's huge. He's the best player. I think he's the best midfielder in the world. Like that dude is so technically good. Like when you watch him play, he's incredible. Like he will take the ball so quickly and distribute on a dime where it needs to be.
He puts the
And
ball
then he'll
in the space without any hesitation. A good ball. He's serving up their front three all the time. If it's open, he's going to get it there.
And then he's scoring goals like he's a forward. He's in the double digits, pushing 20 goals a season as a center midfielder.
Yeah, which is what we have wanted that for so long. A midfielder at 10, 15 goals.
I would love him at Arsenal. He would be, I mean, a dream. But we're lucky that he's not playing tomorrow. So
for sure, it's gonna be big.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win? What do you think the result's going to be?
I'm gonna say 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that too. I actually think that is a doable score, and not just that. I'm hopeful. I actually think that we might win tomorrow.
I know. Like, I was still kind of thinking about it coming up to this. I was like, if we go there and even if we lose, but we play well, it'll be a positive. I still think that that's somewhat true,
Mm-hmm.
But the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, fuck that,
Yeah, no,
we're not afraid of. We shouldn't be afraid of City anymore.
No, and they lost 5-2 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they lost 5-2. They're 14th in the table. They don't have this aura of
invincibility.
Yeah, in past seasons by now, they'd have 12 points, crushing teams, a goal differential of 16 already. You know what I mean? And a feeling that we're running up against a train. But now they're in the mix, trudging. We're in the mix, doing with our heads firmly above water. This is a chance where we just step on them.
Oh yeah, and I think like you look at the difference. You're right. I mean, you take all those things into account, which they do, going into tomorrow, and we got a brand new player that we nicked right at the end of the window. That's a marquee signing for us. We got a boost going into the game where I don't feel that they have that same boost. If anything, they're on the back foot. Today, Guardiola was like, we're going to not have De Bruyne tomorrow. That's unfortunate. And, they're going to be nervous. They don't have David Silva again at this point. He's gone. He's left. So they got a new team that they're working in. And there's a lot of new players there. And
I mean,
it's not a given for them.
We have to play a pretty much perfect game, but
beat
them 2-1 in the cup. I don't see why we can't do that.
And we could be wrong, and we could lose, or we could also have an outstanding day. What if we're firing on all cylinders and they're not?
If we're firing our squad, if we're firing on all cylinders and they're not, I don't see a way that we don't win, unless it's some handball controversy or we hit the post 8 times. But if we're doing our best and they're not at their best, I say we win.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good contest. I'm watching all of it. I worked my day around not being interrupted for it.
Yeah. No, and interesting week in general for the league. I think what happens this week will kind of shed more light on what the season's going to look like, because it's all kind of all over the place right now. And you have the Merseyside derby first thing in the morning. Tons of people are saying that Everton's going to smash them. I think
it's going to be that's going to be a good game.
But it's I mean, it's possible, I guess,
Yeah. They're good. And I mean, look, Liverpool lost to Aston Villa 7-1.
7-2.
Which is just 7-2. Sorry, 7-2. But there's just all over the place, these results. That week, and Manchester United lost 6-1 to Tottenham. Same weekend.
Man City's lost 5-2 to Leicester.
The league is
lost 3-0.
We're the only so far we're the only team that's been really consistent in that with Villa, which is crazy that they've been that consistent.
Well, you see,
and Everton.
Villa, Everton, they're going to gas out at some point.
They are. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to hang
a full season brilliantly in the Premier League. He's going to get injured, or his results are going to drop off.
I do love that Villa had a good start for Martinez. That's nice for him. Because he performed well for us, and it's a shame that we couldn't have 2 top goalkeepers. But it's cool that they're started off so well.
Yeah, can't hate it.
No, but I'm not worried about them either. So,
Like you said,
uh,
there isn't a
I'm,
team that I feel like out and out should beat us every time in the Premier
no,
League.
finally as a team, I'd say that finally as a team again, I'd say that we have class across the pitch that like we're a contender. We're a good team.
For sure. Top four.
And yeah,
We don't get top four this season, I'll be surprised and hurt because
yeah,
I think this team is good. I just flat out think the whole group assembled right now is good enough for that. Top four.
yeah, totally agreed. Well, you're watching tomorrow, yeah?
Of course.
We'll be texting, I'm sure.
Keep the live chat going via text.
Yep. We hope to have you join us next week. We got a interesting week ahead. Leicester next weekend. That's a big game. And we have Europa League on Thursday against Rapid Vienna. I think, do we have to travel there? I don't remember if I looked it up. But we have a Europa League game the week after as well. So it's going to come fast.
And it's a crazy run of games too, because we have
it's going to be nuts.
Leicester, the Man United, Europa League. This period for probably the next month is going to be
till December.
And
we'll define the league.
Get to December with points and good results, because our December run is not that bad for top six. Like we only play like one top six team in that whole December craziness.
Yep.
So
yeah,
if we can come out of there relatively unscathed, we'll be
look at more and more. It's looking like we have a chance and to do some big things this year. I'm hopeful, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And today's been a fun chat. So continue it up next week, and we'll have to see when we can get some guests on here to join us at some point when we got some rival games coming on.
Yeah, the Man United one, I think we'll have a couple people to.
Yeah, maybe we'll circle it. Maybe we'll circle in a couple people and make it a panel discussion or something.
Yeah, peanut gallery. And you.
We won't give them the whole time, but we'll let them join for a discussion. Until then, cheerio, mate.
Cheerio.
See you next week.
Alrighty.
All right. Join us next week. Cheers.
Peace.